Welcome to This Oughta Be Good. This is episode 12. I'm joined by my co-host, Samazon Prime. What's up, Sam?
Hold up, let me fix my audio here.
Yeah, you sound good, man. I don't think there's anything you need to fix there. Unless you got a condenser mic you're about to hook up. And our special guest, the Ologist, is here. What's up, JD? How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? How y'all doing?
Welcome in.
Thank
Hope
you.
you're
Thank
good.
you. I'm
Hope you and the
good,
fam
man.
are
I'm
good.
good.
Hope you and the fam are good too, Samazon. Y'all good over there? Or you need another minute? Sam, you good?
I think he went from good to bad. He sounded fine before.
We can hear you, bud. All good? Uh-oh. Maybe I should be doing the test runs with Sam too.
Pardon me,
Yeah,
gents.
teach. There you
It's
go.
all
You
good.
good?
So I'm gonna go ahead and get into the questions. Ologist,
I'm on.
where were you born and where have you lived?
Where was I born? Where have I lived? Born in Virginia Beach, at Virginia Beach General. Uh, so born and raised truly in Virginia Beach. Um, Lived here most of my life in Virginia Beach. Spent time at VCU in Richmond. So I was there for about 5 years, where you and I met in the old Rhodes dorm days.
Hmm.
Spent 99 to '04 in Richmond. Spent a couple of years up in Northern Virginia, DC area, Arlington, Alexandria mostly. And then for about the past 17 years or so, been back in Virginia Beach. So I would say almost all of my life's been in 757.
I thought you were down in Atlanta for a brief stint. Is that
Oh, I
am I
did. You're
wrong?
right. I did. Yeah, I did do about a little less than a year in Atlanta, like late 2019. Well, middle of 2019 through the middle of 2020. Like I guess until the pandemic started. I packed up
Mhm.
my Honda Accord and drove all my stuff back.
Too hot.
too hot, and I wasn't going to sit in an empty apartment by myself. That wasn't going to be the move. So yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, man.
Can you share like your early influences in music and like how you first got interested in music and hip hop?
Yeah, for sure, man. Like my dad was I remember being young, my dad always had a record collection and things. And I just remember him sitting on the floor in the living room night after night as a little kid, just making mixtapes, just things he wanted to play in his truck or whatever it was. And most of it was like classic rock, some psych rock stuff and things like that. But, I remember a lot of things like Steely Dan, the Eagles, Jim Croce, those
Mhm.
types of things that were really he came up, I think, in his era on late '60s through the '70s, and so that to me kind of always piqued my interest in just the concept of music and it as an activity in and of itself. And so, I grew up just, I guess, enjoying music like every other little kid does. And I had my Big Bird record player, and so I distinctly remember having Rhythm Nation and Bad, and all of these different records that I would play on my Big Bird player. And then, of course, like the mid '90s, of course, CDs got really big. So I remember going to use CD shops, and a lot of time spent like even digging for CDs then at that time. And I still remember one of the earliest CDs that like I discovered that I didn't know was Mad Skills from Where, and it must have been
Mhm.
like a year or two after it came out. But I found it at a CD store in Chesapeake, and so that was like my kind of my start to, I guess, the digging era in like a early mid '90s. But I'd always been a fan of hip hop and things like that coming up, particularly like Wu and Shadow and Biggie and like all those like say early mid '90s is what kind of hooked me on a lot of that stuff.
Mhm.
You
I've got
guys hear me?
some. Yeah, you're
Yeah, we
back.
can hear you, man.
You are loud and clear.
Many apologies.
It's all good. We were just talking
All
about
good, man.
his early influences and touch points with music and hip hop, and he touched on Wu and Biggie, and his dad kind of making
Yeah.
mixtapes of classic rock and a little bit of psych stuff.
Salute to JD. What's up, man?
Oh, what's up, Sam? How
Ologist.
you doing, man? Good to see you,
Yeah,
buddy.
how did
Thanks.
you come up with the name Ologist? Like,
Yeah.
where did that come from?
Yeah, that's funny, man. I've gotten asked that a few times over the years. I actually shared a picture recently. I wish I had brought it with me, but was actually in 2001, man. I was doing a study abroad in Guatemala. And I was down there with some folks from VCU, and we were just rapping about just different things about people and life. And I didn't know a lot about anything, but I knew enough to be dangerous about everything. And they were like, man, you're like a peopleologist. And I was like, damn, that's kind of dope, right? So when I got back from that study abroad, I got my student financial aid check for VCU going into my junior year, and I spent $1,300 of my student financial aid check on MPC 2000 XL. And so I was like, man, that's going to be my name. It's Ologist. Like, it just stuck with me. It was kind of a cool story, and that's how the name came about.
So the ologist being in like a general, like almost like we've been talking to other folks about jack of all trades. Like usually you're a
Yeah,
specific type of ologist, right?
yeah, exactly. Like usually an ologist would be something that's like, very nuanced to one trade or those type of thing. But they said peopleologist, like, oh, random little things about different people and cultures and backgrounds. And so just
That's what's
like
up.
kind of stuck, and it made sense.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about the formation of like Better Beat Bureau? Like they were a DJ crew
Mhm.
initially, right?
Yeah, probably I back probably about 96, like Disco Dave, Abe, Vex, rest in peace, and Josh, Lord of
Mhm.
Mercy, were all from Virginia Beach, and they had a DJ crew. And so like some of their early days, like doing DJ gigs, like a la executioners types things, like one of the biggest ones was, I remember there's some videos floating around on Disco Dave's Instagram page and stuff of the Alpha Music Battle that they did down in Virginia Beach.
Mhm.
All four of them on the stage, and like for this area at the time, man, was like totally unheard of
Mhm.
down here, and they killed it. And so really made a name for themselves, like just from the DJ space. And then I would say
Mhm.
probably late '90s. Vex started making beats, and he's the one that really started pushing the crew to make beats and things like that. And so then
Mhm.
Disco got into making beats slowly, um, with his homie, and who taught him a lot of the ropes and things like that. So I would say from mid
Mhm.
'90s, starting as a DJ thing up to the late '90s, early 2000s, getting into making beats.
Yeah, I've got one of the independent records. It's got a yellow label. I'm trying to think
Yeah,
of
the
the name
yellow
of it,
label.
but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, that it's like Independence Day, something like that.
Yep, it's an Independence
That
Day joint.
I saw Disco Dave has a beat on that, and that's from like '98 or '99 maybe.
Yeah, it was like one of his really, really early beats, I would say, that
Yeah.
was on there. One of the first few things. And after he did a lot of that stuff, he got in tight with Double J and Doja Ray's and them, and had done a
Mm.
bunch of beats for Doja Ray's. He had done some
Mm.
stuff for Thad Reed, which is how I ultimately connected with that up in Alexandria and that. So that was like that.
Mhm.
That I would say, like, to me, was like the indie college radio. That was like a high point, you know what I mean? Like Double J was really running independent radio in the charts and breaking a lot of records,
Mhm.
and so it was just a cool time, man.
Man. Yo, just to as a side, I don't know if you guys have talked about this already, but I see you're in the lab.
Yeah,
From what I've gathered, your lab is like shameful, or makes me feel shameful because I mean, how many would you estimate you have up in that giant, like that? Is that the attic?
it's like a room over the garage. I mean, here, let me
I was
see,
Yeah.
gonna
man.
say it looks like the attic, like they relegated the ologist to the attic of the
It's
house.
like no, it's a
Right.
it's a pretty big room, man. It's
Man.
probably 18 by 20 or 18 by 15. So I don't know, man. There's thousands of LPs in that, and then
Yeah.
all kinds of 45s and things like that. I've been working on some stuff. I'm actually going down to play Dante's Friday after next in Miami. So working on getting a set together, some Brazilian stuff, some boogie stuff, some things like that. But yeah,
Man,
man,
that's
I'm
it. That's it.
probably like, oh, I was gonna say I probably got like, man, I don't know, up here maybe seven to 8,000 records, and then I've got in the garage, man, and then this closet and other spaces probably another 10,000 records. I miss a lot.
That's an impressive. That's an impressive array of music you got up there, man. How do you organize? I don't think we've talked about this with anybody else yet, but like, how do you
Oh,
organize your collection?
yeah, it's a good question, man.
Peace to
Like,
Billy
so,
Crystal Fingers, by the way. What up, Eric?
hey, what's up, Eric? How you doing, man? Yeah, I sort mine by genre, really. So, like, um, down here below me is just a bunch of like random stuff that I We'll talk about digging stories, but I did that big dump dig that time where I went to the landfill and found a couple thousand records. Like there's a bunch of
Yes.
stuff sitting here from there. There's probably 30 boxes in the garage still from that. I've got a lot of Virginia stuff here. All this stuff is Brazilian all through here, Latin stuff. And then I've got soul and then jazz and gospel down towards the end. The only thing that's really alphabetized. I went through this painstaking trouble alphabetizing the jazz. I was like, I'm gonna alphabetize all my records like 10 years ago. I did the jazz and I was like, hell no, man, I ain't doing nothing else. So like I've got some of it by artists, you know what I mean? But that's about it, man. It's mostly genre.
It's funny you're talking about jazz. I have mine organized by like the band leader, like what instrument they play. So like like the drummer
Interesting.
like records and like the trumpet player records and then like the vibraphone artist records and the flute records and stuff. That's the only way I could think that made sense when I was trying to find them, because trying to alphabetize stuff has got to be aggravating.
It's a pain in the butt, man. And then too is like when you pull stuff for sets, it's like a lot of times when you'll spin sets and do things, you're playing by like a vibe or a feel, you know, or grouping things together. So it's like the alphabetized thing for jazz really don't work very well for that. But everything else might be like, so the Brazilian stuff, I might have boogie stuff together. I might have psych rock stuff together. You know, those types of things I'll kind of generally have grouped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's a slight method to the madness.
Let's talk about that.
Right.
The dumpster dig.
That's how I look at it. It's like how easily you can find it. If you're looking for a record, how easily you would be able to find it.
Reasonably, man. But like there's so much stuff in here. Like I've gone through and done stuff. Like we've done a bunch of things up at Only You, or I've done gigs at the shop and stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this deep dive into like fusion jazz. It's like, well shit, man. Like now I gotta figure out like their gigs are alphabetized, they're scattered all throughout like, 1,500 jazz records. And so it makes it not quite as easy as you would want it to be. Yeah.
My bad, Mordecai. You're about to say something.
No, I wanted to hear more about the dumpster dive.
Oh man,
yeah, please.
Dumpster dig.
I wish I had pictures to share. It was man, when was it? It must have been April or May of 2020. Man, no, maybe it was it late 2020? I think it was late 2020 or early 2021. I don't know. Anyways, man, it was in the middle of the pandemic, and like remember those times like everybody was just lining Amazon pockets. So all we're doing is order everything from Amazon and everything online. So we had cardboard boxes like coming out the wazoo. And I was like, man, I had this old beat up pickup truck. And I was like, man, I'm just going to load all this stuff up and take it to the dump. I had like an old air conditioner and like paint cans and all kinds of different stuff. And I was like, man, I'm going to take it up to the dump. And I just procrastinated all day long. And the dump closes at, I think like 4:30. And I was like, man, I got to get out here. So I finally get on the road. I get up there and I go and I drop off the AC in the little mechanic section. I drop off all the paint and I'm coming around to the general dumpsters with all the boxes and miscellaneous stuff. And I pull up to this dumpster, like you've been to the dump before. There's 20 giant dumpsters, right? There's like a dozen on each side and you just pull up to a side. Like it's totally random based on whatever's empty. And I happen to pull up to the right side of this dumpster, man. And I look over and there's a guy in a rented U-Haul pickup truck, literally standing in the bed, throwing crates of records into the dumpster. and I proceed to ask the most rhetorical question you can ask. I'm like, are you throwing away those records? And he looks at me like, what the hell do you think, man? He was like, yeah. He was like, yeah, man. He's
Stop
like,
now.
yeah, that's what I was basically like. And I looked in there. I mean, there was records everywhere. If you go back through my Instagram page, you can see like photos of the dumpster, but there was already like 1,000+ records in there. And I was like, man, listen, you mind if I look through the rest of these records in the back of the truck? And Sam, you'll appreciate this, man. I actually pulled it because I figured you would ask about it. The first record, I'm about 8 records in, man. And the first thing there was 2 sealed copies of Joe Mafia, Ask Why.
Yeah.
And I was like from Portsmouth. And so I was like, yo, excuse me. It was recorded out in Virginia Beach, but it's from Suffolk. And
he's part of
like,
and if anybody doesn't know, he's one of the rappers from
Wu Syndicate.
what's the Wu-Tang offshoot?
Wu Syndicate. Yeah.
Wu Syndicate. Yeah, he's one of the rappers from Wu Syndicate.
Exactly. So I was like, man, do you mind if I just take these crates? He was like, sure. So I just grabbed every crate off the back of the truck. I wasn't even looking, man. Pulled every crate off the back of the truck. And then I straight up jumped in the dumpster. And for the next hour, I pulled every damn record I could possibly pull out of there. Like I'm lifting up other trash people have thrown on top of records. I pulled some
Man,
rare tapes out of there. Some real
man.
early Tony Gonzalez, who was the manager for the Clips for a while. Before the
Uh-huh.
whole drug legal thing went down, like some groups from Bayside Arms that are like unheard CDs from the late 90s. Pete Twist
Mm.
did stuff. Joe City did stuff on there. So like things like that I
Yeah.
found in there, man. But it's probably like 1,500 records, man. A bunch of local stuff, ton of hip hop. It
Man.
was crazy,
Who
man. Like
was
it's like a
the
digging
guy?
dream.
Who was the guy throwing it
Man.
Yeah.
out?
He said he used to promote for Def Jam back in like the late 90s, early 2000s. And so he was like, man, I used to get all the records because I was the Def Jam promoter guy. He said, my boy DJ'd. He's like, so I would pick up 2 copies of everything I could get. And he's like, then his boy
Mhm.
stopped DJing in like the later 2000s, and he just stuck it all in his shed. And he was like, I don't really need this because I'm not doing anything with it. And he let it sit there for like 10, 12 years. And he was like, I just got to make space and get rid of this stuff. He thought it was worthless and he thought it all was all ruined. And so he was like, I'm just going to rent a U-Haul pickup truck and throw it away. And like, that to me is crazy. It's like he paid money to throw away records, man. It's just wild.
And you were like, "That's all of them, right?" Or you were like, "Can I come and check your
Right.
house, make sure there's nothing else
Yeah.
left over?"
I mean, I was pretty sure with the U-Haul truck, man, that it was everything. But the wild part is, and like why I set up the story to say like, I kind of lollygagged around all day. It's like if you think about all the things that had to go right to that exact
Mhm.
second of like, what if there was another truck there, right, throwing stuff in
Yeah.
that dumpster? I go to the next one, I never
Yeah.
see it. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
all the things in the universe that had to align for that. It's like record digging karma, man. It was meant to be.
Think about if you came there like 10 minutes late and somebody started dumping wet garbage like on top of all that stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, they go throw carpet on top, and then you look in there, cardboard boxes, and you don't
Yeah.
see it, man. It was like it was done.
Did you get you got copies of that Doomsday record too, right?
I got 2 copies of it still, man. Let me see. I
Yeah.
pulled some of the ones that were like the local stuff I
Hmm.
found. So yeah, there's 2 copies of the Doomsday, one in like the red sleeve, and then one in the black sleeve. So I still got both of those. The
Yeah, that's a
alienated
super
into
rare, like very desirable record. I mean, I don't have it,
yeah,
2 sealed copies. That's crazy.
yeah. What's I don't know what it goes for now, Sam. It goes for pretty good money last time I
That's
saw.
like at least a couple hundred each, I think. I
Yeah,
mean, if you were selling to me, it's not worth that much, but if you're
yeah.
going
It's worth
to,
like 20 bucks,
if you're
right?
looking on
Yeah,
discounts, it probably hasn't sold because there aren't copies out there. Like probably a couple
yeah,
hundred.
yeah. It's probably not many. The Alienated Individuals album.
Yeah, yeah, that's a
Um,
dope compilation. He's on that
it's
too, I think. Doomsday is.
Yeah, Jagged's on there.
That
Um,
whole thing is
the Juniper.
that whole compilation is nice.
Yeah, it's wild. And funny enough, man, if I remember, yeah, it's pressed on clear vinyl, which I just don't really remember that many hip hop albums being pressed on clear vinyl
Right,
at that time. But
right.
shout out to Novocaine and Fats, man. Juniper's on there.
Yeah.
I think it's a track on there
Gypsies.
produced by Knots, as a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken.
Doesn't Joe City has some beats on that too, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. Joe City does.
I know like
Pete
Gypsies
Twist
is on
does.
it.
No, I'm sorry, man. The Doomsday is the one I think that has a Nas track on it, maybe.
Okay.
Anyways, yeah, man. But yes, I found those. There's J Max. This
Yeah.
NVA, which for the longest time was only on tape, man. Um, I don't know if
Is that
you,
Watch Who You Let Through
Sam.
the Door?
Yeah, watch you. Sorry, man. I can't see which side. Yeah,
Yeah,
watch you let through the
that's a
door.
great single. Both sides of that, man. I just
Yeah,
recently got a couple of copies of that from my homie Moody in Richmond found some. I had
yeah.
never heard it. That's a
Nah,
great
man. I only saw
one.
the tape for the longest time. I found 2 copies of that.
Yeah,
Mike Lord, Buddha Brothers, rest in peace, man. So like it was just stuff
yeah,
like that was in there, man, and it was just wild. It was like I saw that Joe Mafia, and I was like, man, I'm just taking everything and I'll gamble on it, man. And just like, what's the
man.
worst I'm out? It's like owning a bunch of records. So it's
That's
wild, man.
incredible, man.
It's
That's
wild.
got to be. Would you say like out of the days that stick in your mind, would you say that was one of the best, one of the top day like digging times that you ever had, or is there
Yeah,
anything that
man.
competes with that?
I mean, I don't know if there's any. Well, yeah, I've had a few crazy digging stories, like to me, that are just like, I don't know, kind of karma things, man. one day I used to work at the railroad for a while, so I was in downtown Norfolk, and every day on my lunch break, man, I would skip eating lunch, and I would just drive out to like thrift stores and junk shops and things like that. And I never shared where this was before, but don't really matter now. It's like 10 years ago, and I drove out to Portsmouth, and I got off the interstate and I went over some railroad tracks like underneath this pass, and there was this old building on the left hand side, man, like out in the older part of Portsmouth, and they had a bunch of old furniture and stuff out front. And I was like, cool, man, they might have some junk in here, man. Big, like, one of those roll up like garage doors open. So I went in there and I couldn't find anybody working in there, but it was full of like antiques and, all kind of just tchotchke stuff. And I yelled back there and I was like, hey, do you have any records? And the guy's like, yeah, there might be some in the back corner, but you're going to have to climb over a bunch of stuff. And like, you dig for records, like you hear that. And it's like, man,
Challenge
nobody's
accepted.
touched. Challenge accepted, right? Nobody's touched these records. And so I was I was jazzed, man. So I climbed over all this stuff, and it was like in this part of this building was almost like an addition to this warehouse, and it was starting to cave in, and like the window was loose. It was hot as hell in there. It was I think it was like July or August, and there was these like metal shelves, and the first record I pull off, man, is a Georgie Ben record, and the whole place was stuffed with imported Brazilian LPs, man.
Come on, man.
Yeah, hundreds of imported Brazilian records in Portsmouth. And so I was fucking bugging out, man. I was like, oh my God, I'm trying to play it mad cool, right? So like I pull every single Brazilian record. And that's like, 200 of my Brazilian records came from Portsmouth, man. But I'm pulling every single record, and it's like Caetano Veloso, it's Gal Costa, it's Georgie Ben, it's Milton Nascimento, like you name an artist, it's in there, man. And
Tim Maya.
So no, sadly no Tim, man. I wish there would have been some Tim. It wasn't like Haciendal or anything like that was like super, super rare, but they were, $100, $200 records, $40, $50 records. It was a vast collection. And so I asked the guy, I'm like, man, how much you want for it? And he's like, $80. And I was like, man, all I have is a credit card. Cause I didn't think I was going to find that much. I had like $30 on me. I didn't think I was going to find much. So I was like, listen, I'll give you 90, cover your fees. He's like, cool. I swiped that card so damn fast through the records in the trunk, and I dipped, man. So I got 200 Brazilian records for $90 in Portsmouth, man, is a pretty crazy story. So that was, I don't know, man, that was up there too.
That's insane.
That was up there.
So, and I don't want to steal your thunder, Mordecai, because you might be getting ready to ask this, but speaking of the Brazilian music, I'm gonna admit I'm pretty naive when it comes to Brazilian, and I know you're kind of like one of the subject matter experts with Brazilian joints. The bit I've heard, I've liked a lot of things, but what do you think is a good way for people like me that aren't up on a lot of Brazilian stuff? What's the best way to get familiar, to get on your level?
Well, I first off, man, like I still think I'm a rookie, man, to be honest. I've been
Come on, man. Like, hey, let's get one thing straight. You're not a rookie, man. I'm telling you.
I've been digging
when somebody says Brazilian music, I think of Ologist.
Nah, man, listen, there's like 20 guys I could name, like T, my boy T down in Rio, originally from DCVA area, Greg Kaz, Alan Thayer, man, there's a bunch of guys that just like eclipse me to the moon and back, man. But nah, man, I humbly try to learn all the time, man, and constantly digging stuff. I would say, man, honestly, the best way to figure out what you like would probably be, there's so many compilations out now. I would say starting with a compilation, man. And there's a lot of it that's accessible now on Spotify and YouTube that 10 years ago didn't exist, right? So you really had to dig. It was only in the physical form. So I would say compilations, playlists on Spotify or something like that would be a great way. And then figuring out like what sound resonates, and then diving off of that, of like who similar artists are, what the styles are, and those types of things, the eras, that type of stuff.
So you've done some mixes that are online, some Brazilian mixes that are online, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you could recommend for people, so we can hear some of your taste, some of your mixes?
Yeah, man. I don't have them like publicly available. I did do the CD mixes like years ago, man. But I could, yeah, I've got some on my Mixcloud that you could definitely check. I've got a couple on the shop SoundCloud page. I did like just even recently back end of last year, I did a Modern Brazil joint that has stuff from like more recent era, last
Mhm.
10 years or so. And there's some dope stuff on there. So my Mixcloud, Shop, Spotify, through the Thanks for Listening page, you can find a bunch of stuff there.
And you guys at the shop, thank you for listening. You have a little Brazilian section there too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we have a pretty good Brazilian collection, man. We've been doing like probably two big drops a year,
Hmm.
and doing kind of a themed event around it, just to not just put records out, but also build the cultural aspect around the records. And I think that's a lot of times it's like music just gets put out, but you really want to build the depth of the cultural understanding and the experience around it too. So what we tried to do is, as we've done like bigger groups of records coming out, try to put an event around it just to help educate and share and put the cultural aspect out. So we did two last year. We're going to do one, I think, next month called Sound of Brazil. And so each time we'll
Yeah.
drop like 100 like original rare Brazilian records, that we've sourced from, friends and things like that down in Brazil that will dig for us or look out for us, or things we found stateside, through digs of our own. But I say twice a year we have anywhere from 100 to 200 Brazilian records in the shop, man,
Okay.
which I don't think you can say about many places, frankly,
No,
probably really around the country, man. Outside of like
no.
Human Head, Cosmos, shout out to Neil at Sohm in DC. He carries some
Hmm.
stuff like that. So there's not many, man.
By the way, shout out to Napoleon and Dodio at the shop. It's you three guys, right?
Yeah, it's me, Napoleon, and Doty, man. And so
Yeah,
Napoleon's
you
like,
guys are definitely deep in the culture, man. I think it's great to have a shop. I mean, I've been down there. I missed you a couple of times. I've been down there, but you can tell that it's run by enthusiasts. It's not just like a cookie cutter record shop.
yeah, I appreciate that, man. That's the thing about the shop, is we really wanted to be a place where community can kind of come together, and it's like a place that everybody can kick it, not just a transactional business. I think that's the one thing we really wanted to stay away from. It's just like selling records for the mechanics of selling records. You know what I mean? So that community
Yeah,
aspect is a big part of it, man. Appreciate
right
that.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of go through, some of your discography, but I want to go back to the dumpster dig real quick.
Yeah.
I found some CDs that have been thrown out at our local dump, and I
Whoa.
actually hopped over to go dig through them because I think they were hip hop, or I could tell they were hip hop, like as I was throwing out stuff. And the the dumpster Henrico County employees were like, "You got to get out of there!" Like, you got to. I'm like scrambling, like, what could I find?
That's funny, man. You know what's crazy is that's
I didn't
the
find anything
opposite.
crazy rare like you did,
You
but
know,
It'd be like,
look
hey,
at
I
see,
dropped my wedding ring in here. Be like, hey, I dropped my wedding ring. They're liable to let you dig for another couple of minutes.
they were like, "You got to get out of there."
yeah, I got these. Hold on, man. I was looking to see. Yeah, here are these Bayside Arms CDs, because
Mm,
Sam will appreciate these, man. Like, definitely
yeah,
stuff like you haven't seen before, man.
that's new to me.
Yeah, I
Yeah, from
appreciate them
Yeah,
too.
that
Virginia.
stuff is all new to me. You
Yeah,
you put up
man.
you had a post, didn't you have an IG post with some of these?
I did, man. I posted a couple of clips
Yeah,
from them, like maybe about like 6 months ago, man. So I was like,
yeah,
oh, they need to be heard. And I talked to Pete Twist about them, man, and he was like, yo, I don't remember any of those sessions at all. So he doesn't. I don't think he
man,
has copies of it, or that I'm aware of, or like really remembers the sessions that much. But he was recording
yeah.
great stuff, man. So
Man, shout out to Pete Twist too. He's still making beats. I mean, he's still in the culture. I mean,
yeah,
he
Pete's
was
a
doing those
legend, man.
projects with Born Unique, right? Like Grime Lords and whatnot.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's doing the Grime Lord stuff. He's done a
Yeah,
bunch of stuff with cats, man. Like, he's constantly working, man. Yeah, that guy's a
yeah,
that guy's a legend out here, man. But it was funny.
for
So
sure.
so Mordecai, man, like when I was sitting there, I jumped in the dumpster. I distinctly remember two things. One, a guy driving by on like a big tractor with like the bucket scoop in the front, and he was like, "Man, what'd you find in there?" And I was like, "Records." He's like, "Oh, that's dope. Hope you find something cool." And he drove off. And then the other guy that was like directing like which direction you should drive your car through the dump comes over, and he's like, "Oh man, I can't take them right now, but can you save a box of these records for me?" I said, "Sure, man." He's like, "Well, what's your number?" And I gave him my number with the wrong phone number digits in reverse order. I was like, "Hell no, man! I ain't giving none of these records away to some random dude." But they didn't.
And
It was
you
shocking
gotta
to me.
keep
They
that good
didn't care.
karma going, man. You could have taken like
Yeah,
the Def Jam like 2004 promos and put them in a box for him or something, man.
Man, I was gonna have this guy come into my house and looking through them like, "Oh, let me get this, let me get that." Like, I got plenty of good
Yeah.
karma, Sam. I think I'm doing all right, man. I'm living
Nah,
right.
okay. You know, speaking of not trying to get this like completely on some record nerd stuff, but all those records from the Tappahannock store. Um,
Yeah.
well, so by the time you guys all got through that stuff, was there anything was there anything that surprised you or anything super good?
Um,
Or is it all just kind of like filler stuff?
yeah, I mean, a lot of it was filler stuff, man. But there were
Yeah,
good records. There's a lot of good records in there. Don't get me wrong, but like nothing that
yeah,
was like a Jade or something like that that you might have like
right,
really, really hoped for. But it was a lot of stuff that was good to see the shop with. There was definitely some
right on.
oddity stuff. Like there's a couple that I still have. Um, here, I just saw them the other day, man. Oh, let me see if I can find them real quick since we're dorking
So
out
what?
about this
So what
stuff.
I'm asking about, there was a record store in Tappahannock that this guy had been closed throughout the pandemic, and he decided he wanted to liquidate all the records he had. He'd been closed for a couple years, and we worked out a deal where JD and Napoleon and Doty were getting ready to start the shop, so we all worked something out where they scored this dude's inventory, basically.
Sam came and helped out and took a bunch of records for himself for his stash too, man, which was still much
It wasn't that
appreciated,
many,
man.
man.
You were a bit of a plug though. You were the plug on that, man. So that's love, man.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what's up.
yeah, these were like these random white label records, man. There's like nothing on the sleeve except for they're like porno records, man. So like if you
Oh,
look,
what?
dude, and it's just full of crazy samples, man. Like so stuff like this
Huh.
is cool, man, just because you have no idea like what the hell it is, you know what I mean? So it was like
Yeah,
these are the kind of things I dig, it's just like random things like that. But I mean, it was some stuff like that. I don't think it's super rare. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's a $50
yeah.
record or something like that, but it's not
Mm,
around, man. So it's just cool to find something different.
Wanted to talk a bit
indeed.
about your again selected discography. Quick question on this picture: Are you? I've never seen anyone look at a slip mat so intensely before.
It's a record, Drew, just so you know. It's an actual that's what we call vinyls.
Is it
Um,
Dynaflex? It looks like Dynaflex.
I think it's just the light, man. It's a record.
It's a
Um,
it's a BlackBerry Shakes picture disc.
okay, thank you. The first one, initially I had
Man.
something else here first, but I wanted to bring in somebody else to help us talk about this one. We got
Oh,
Yo,
Disco Dave
yo.
here. What up?
hey, what's up,
What up?
Mm.
What
man?
up?
What up, Disco Dave?
What's good,
What up,
man?
baby?
Getting off of work?
So
Yeah, I
this
know
was
what it is, man.
2004, is that right? Or
Yeah,
February
2003 maybe?
04.
2004. Okay.
February '04, man.
So 20-year
That's crazy.
anniversary.
Yeah,
Mm.
man.
And
Yeah, 20 years, man. And
Ologist, I saw you
I
had Out of the Dark, Slip Away, and Lines.
yeah. Yep. There's
Rolling here
a
on
cover
What's All the
for it right
Talking
there.
For,
He's
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like,
Party
I got you
Groove,
one better. I got my physical copy right here.
Never
This
Love
this the
Again.
only one I
Yeah.
know
Man.
of that's still around. Roland, you have one, man, or
I
no?
I have
Got a box of
the
them.
yeah. No, I have the sleeve. I can't find the actual CD, but
Yeah, I don't know
Mm.
if I
I know
have
I
the
got a
actual
bootleg
CD
somewhere.
either. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, same here.
yeah.
Yep, yep,
But yeah, that was like 20 years ago, and we passed those out at ODU. If you remember, that's where
yep.
we
That was ODU beat battle. And so the way
yeah.
that story goes, Dave will tell you, man, is like the way the story goes. That was the first battle with Jay Clyde, man. And
Right.
so it was Disco and Jay Clyde in the final. And it was for what, like some cash in the SP 404 that I think you
Yeah,
never got,
which
right? Like,
so I won, which I said it before. I shouldn't have won it because I thought Jay had it, but I won, but I never got the 404, which I was pissed, but whatever, or the money.
So
But
hold
hey,
up.
what do you
So
do?
hold up. Who's the antologist? Are you the antologist?
Antagonist. That's Antagonist. Dragon
Hey,
Antagonist,
Spit.
yeah.
antagonist.
Antagonist. All right.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry, man. My
Yeah.
old man eyes distort things. Not
Yeah,
to derail you.
Yeah. That was it, man. It's funny. That was the first time that I met Mike Sick before too. And so Mike's been down in Atlanta for a long time now, and he's been doing shout out to him. He's been doing the High Off Life freestyle series. He just came to Richmond recently and did a series with a bunch of Richmond cats. I know Kane was on there. That episode just came out last week, but I still remember because I have his CD that he gave us. Like we swapped CDs back in 04. It's crazy,
Yeah,
man.
back in the day, him and Check One, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, they went by like Mike Check or something like that.
Yeah,
Something along those
Mike
lines.
Check. That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yo,
Those
Disco
were good
Dave, we were
people back
talking
then.
we were talking about your production earlier. I don't know if you caught
Oh,
that.
okay.
I was just talking about how I noticed you had a credit on this Independence Day compilation that I have on vinyl with the yellow label.
Oh yeah. With
So
yeah. I have a couple on there. Yeah.
what was your
Not one
what were you
this
making
way.
beats on like around that? Or actually what's like when did
So
you start when did you
I
start making beats and like through what period?
okay, so the story goes with original Better Beat Bureau. We were a DJ crew. So we started, I want to say it was like late 90s, early 2000s. And we were like doing team routine, battle routines. And rest
Mm,
in peace, our brother DJ Vex. He started making beats with his own crew called Red Eye Productions. And the beats he was making, he picked up like an MPC 2000 Classic, and the beats he was making was on the same level of the stuff that we were bumping at the time. We were heavy into the Raucous era, you know, High Tech, Primo, Dilla,
yeah.
all that stuff. And he was making beats that were on par back then.
Boom.
Yeah,
And
that's it.
yeah,
That's it
so
right there.
yeah. So me and Abe, we were like, yo, shout out to Abe Ski. We were like, man, we gotta start making beats because at the time we were just battle DJs. And so I picked up 2001. I picked up MPC 2000 XL with my what's it called? My income, my tax return, and
Mm,
now and the rest was
Mhm.
history.
mm.
So yeah, it's been the 2000 XL all the way up until like about 2013, and then I got a
Yeah.
Renaissance, and then now I'm on the X, and I have a MPC one too, but I don't use that much often. But
We
Hmm.
got to get you on
So,
another episode, Disco Dave, and
oh,
just
definitely,
talk your history as well.
Yeah.
yeah.
word.
So I'll just going back to you. This was like one of the first ones that I saw. You know, you having like a production like credit for. How did
Oh
you connect
yeah.
with Cahill?
Um,
Is he
he's,
related
he's from
to?
Carolina.
Yeah, I was about to say Justice
Hmm.
League, or
He was
is there a
like
connection there?
Neblina,
I don't
right?
know that. What's that?
Was it off of Neblina Records?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think so. Like, remember that was like they were going by like, and then maybe they still do like Kickaverse at the time. It was like years and years and years ago. Like, I think they were all in that same circle, but I couldn't speak to like whether he was like affiliated in any sort of formal way. I don't think so, but I'm not positive. But I
Mm.
feel like I connected with him in like 2003, maybe like the root. It must have been through like a message board or something. I had done like a remix of
MySpace, maybe.
something, and yeah, and he heard it and was like, it might have been, man, for real. Like, as funny as you say.
I
But he had hit me up, and I was like, yeah,
I
I'm down, man.
I knew Cahill from the Justice League forums, so that's
That's
Okay.
kind
that's
of how I
probably
knew
what it
him.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's probably
yeah,
what it was, man. The Justice League forums. I was trying to
yeah.
think like, was that wasn't the lawn?
It was the lawn. Yeah, it
There
was the
was a
lawn.
lawn. Yeah, that's what it
That's
was.
how I knew
Yeah,
him. Yeah.
yeah. That's probably where it was then, because that was around the time that what's his name? Filipino cat. Damn, it's slipping my mind. Anyways, from like Jersey was like getting real big.
Oh,
Anyways,
Illmind.
Illmind. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Illmind. I remember him being on the boards too.
Yeah.
This was
Tag.
2012. Yeah, Antagonist Dragon Spit, another Better Beat Bureau member. How did he kind of come into the fold for Better Beat Bureau?
So
It
him
was
and
both.
JD, they
Yeah,
both came in at the same time. Um,
yeah.
we weren't a production crew at first, but then I want to say around 02, 03, like Antagonist, he would hit me. We would always keep in contact because he was up there in VCU, and he would always be like, "Yo, me and Ologist are trying to get down with the BBB." I'm like, "Oh, word, all right, cool." You know, and so we linked up. I linked up with him first, and then JD came through the old apartment later.
Yeah, I remember us connecting like also too like at Mo's like like on the phone at Mo's crib like playing beats
Yeah,
and stuff and playing cassettes and things like he had a place in that high rise like right where
right.
Monument and Franklin connected. like that
No,
janky high-rise building.
matter of fact, the first time JD came over my crib, his car got towed.
My car got towed, man, with my 2000 XL in the back
Right,
seat.
right.
Yo, boy.
Yeah, Rolla had to drive me all the way. Like the tow lot was at the ocean front,
It was the
man. Like
ocean front. Yep.
we're talking about from Pembroke, like Town
Yeah.
Center, Virginia Beach,
Independence,
all
yeah.
the way to the ocean front, man. God,
That was crazy.
I think you told me Antagonist would like make a beat and then just delete it, like if he didn't love it or
he,
even
what
if it
he,
was
for
good,
beats
maybe.
that he liked too. Like
he did it with all the beats, man.
He
Like
did it
he
with
just
all the
left the
beats.
Triton on.
I was like his saver for everything. I'd be like, yo, let me just put that, like, I'll record it, put it on my computer, and I'll put it on the disc, and then that was it. I would save all of his stuff, and he's like, to this day, he asked me, hey, do you still have this song? He doesn't even have his own songs that he recorded. And I'm like,
Nope,
man.
he
So
don't,
I'm
man.
kind of like his backup. Both of us are.
I remember going to
He
house
was always
parties.
like onward and upward, just like always thinking about the next thing.
Yeah.
Remember at house parties, he would just rip the freestyle open mics, like just
Yeah,
him
he'd
and
kill it.
Fan Ran too. Execute at that time.
The first time I met Tag was at an open mic in '99 on Broad Street. He was playing the drums, man. Like that was the first time I met him. Wasn't even on no rhyming or like beat making stuff, man. It was just on the drums. It's funny too. I remember him like this was I don't know, they like early 2000s, man, and he went and did some beats for High Tech and Mood. Like he
Yeah.
went up to Cincinnati or something, and
Yeah.
he literally just went and made like 3 beats. And I was like, "Yo, did you rhyme for him?" He's like, "Nah, man, I didn't even rhyme for him." And I was like, "What? Like this is crazy, man." He went all the way up there,
Yeah.
just made 3 beats, took a check, and left, man. I was like, "Ah,
Yeah.
yep,
Yeah.
that's Tag, man."
What is this 4K mix? I think you posted a bit about a 4K mix today too.
Yeah, funny enough, man. Yeah, like anything that I would make on the MPC 4000, I would just call 4K mix. And it's funny, like when I did that, on the Gabby Hernandez record that I did for Mr. Bongo, they credited me as Ologist 4K because I guess they thought like that was the artist's
like
name.
Andre
and then
3000. Yeah.
Right.
Yes, exactly. But like I was just 1,000 more, you know. I just remember like around this time, like 2015 ish, I was just taking like new tracks that would come out just as a challenge to see like, can I flip them and do something different and put my own spin on it. And this surf record came out, and I want to say they gave it away for free or something like that, man. And I remember when it came out, it was a little bit avant-garde, you know, still like R&B-ish, but somewhat experimental. And I did an edit of this thing and put it out, and it was like it blew up on like all the blogs at the time, man. Like Two Dope Boys and everything else. And like once it hit Two Dope Boys, it was like everywhere. Like so, I don't know, man. It just kind of blew up just from something that's like I took as a challenge.
In 2016, you did a 7-inch lathe cut. Santa Plays It Wrong.
Yeah. I've been making Christmas beats forever, man. Like one of my guilty pleasures. Like I do have down here is a large collection of Christmas records. I don't know, man. I just like them, especially the challenge of finding funky ones. I found some cool stuff over the years, but I've always loved a theme project. I felt like I worked best when I had a theme and like a objective and goal in mind. And so I had put together a bunch of Christmas tracks, like maybe the year before, and I was like, man, I'm just gonna cut some of these to a 7-inch, man, just for the hell of it. So I did it, and then I made the covers by hand and everything, man. So it was like a true DIY.
Yeah. You got a couple Christmas mixes out there too that are pretty funky from what I remember.
Yeah. This one took some of the tracks from the other one and then has some new tracks too. But we were doing like a monthly beat forum thing in 2017 into 2018, which is actually where the name from the shop came from. So me and Soup, who used to live down here, lives up in Arlington now. We were like, man, we're gonna want to do this beat thing, and so it was right after Doty and E had opened up Thank You Gallery in Selden Market in downtown Norfolk. And he was like, well, what are you trying to do? I was like, man, we're gonna do a Saturday morning open beat cipher. And people were like, yo, you lost your mind, man. You're gonna do a beat cipher at 10 a.m. And I was like, yeah, man, like it's gonna be dope, right? And so
Mhm.
wanted to just take it out of like being in the club environment and stuff like that. So this is where that came out of. Like I played this set live, and so this recording is actually just like a live recording of that beat set there. But it was called "Thanks for Listening," and that's where the name of the store came from after the open mic joint.
Yeah, speaking of thanks for listening, I wanted to bring in one more guest. We got Napoleon G here.
Oh, what's up,
Napoleon
baby?
G, what up?
Yeah.
Salute.
What up? What
What's
up?
good, fellas? What's going on?
This my man. This my brother right here, man. My main man. This guy. If you want to know the genius behind the shop, man, it's
Peace,
this guy right
everybody.
here, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
This
man.
guy.
I
Thanks for
appreciate you
joining
saying
us.
that, man. It's a collective effort, though, but I appreciate you saying that, brother.
Yeah, man. Yep. So yeah, thanks for listening, man. What Napoleon? He tells the story better, man. But he lived his whole life, born and raised in Virginia Beach too, and then went to Maryland and had been back for like, what? You been back for like weeks, man? I mean, we're like, yo, let's
Literally
go
like
get a
maybe
beer,
2-3
man.
weeks. And the
Yeah.
shop formulated, you know what I'm saying? Like I just got back, and I've been talking to Dodie for a little while, man, back and forth. Me and JD talk about records every day anyway. You know what I'm saying? So that's par for the
Yeah.
course. But the funniest shit, you know what I mean, now that we're on this forum, is what I was talking about before, is how much of a piece of the puzzle Sam is.
Mm.
Right? So
Yeah.
with the whole, you know, because us buying out that shop in Tappahannock, you know, Sam was very instrumental in that. And so the funny part
man.
that Sam ain't tell y'all,
Yeah.
the dude closed the shop, right? I found the shop before COVID. I was scared to tell anybody about it. So I was like, yo, I got to find somebody in Richmond that I can trust that's close. Nobody knew. I don't think anybody really knew about that shop like that. Like maybe one cat knew about it, but nobody really knew about it. So I let Sam know, like literally at the beginning of COVID, like, yo, I'm trying to get in touch with this dude. The shop's closed, whatever. And I forgot about it.
Yeah.
2 years later, Sam hunted this motherfucker down. Excuse my language. He hunted the dude down through like a real estate agent.
Yeah.
I couldn't find the dude. I've been trying to like call this dude. He hunted this dude down.
Let me
And
tell
that
you
was-
something, man.
It was crazy, man. It was crazy. So
Man, let me tell you something. In dry times, when you're not finding any records, you start following all your leads. And I think we were messaging on IG, and I was just thinking, I was like, man, yeah, remember he was telling me about that spot, and I just started like Googling like my ass off, and I finally got somewhere, like found out the guy's name, and I finally got somewhere, and I got a hold of this realtor, and man, I'm just glad it ended up with you guys because that was perfect timing. I mean, it was like
it
it was a
was,
good
man.
start, you know.
But I
Blessing,
still like to
man.
say much respect to Sam because Sam was the integral part of us starting because a lot of the starting stock we had came from that shop. So
Yeah. That's a fact,
Oh.
man.
That was a fun time, you know, loading all that stuff up, seeing what
No
was
doubt.
out there too. That was a good time.
Disco Dave, I wanted to say I wanted to thank you for joining us. If you got to go, I appreciate it. You know, but if
Yeah,
you want to
thanks, man.
stick
Thanks
around and
for
hang
having
on,
me.
that's cool
Roland,
too.
what up, Roland?
Yeah.
Peace,
What up?
brother.
What up? What's going on, bro?
I know you're
Right.
just
Hey,
getting
love you, man.
off work. So
Love you too,
Good to
bro.
see you, fam.
Yeah, I'm gonna hop
Peace.
on out of here.
Just go, Dave.
All right.
thanks
Yeah,
for stopping
thanks,
through.
y'all.
All right,
Peace.
Ologist, can you talk about this series real quick?
Yeah,
Welcome to
man.
Brazil.
So like this came about while I was down in Atlanta, and man, I was just sitting in this apartment day in and day out. Like my wife and kids are back here in VA, and so I was just trying to come up with things to like challenge myself and do stuff different. And I was like, man, I'm gonna do a Brazil mix. I'm gonna do like a funk and soul Brazil mix. And so I would sit in this apartment room every night and work on this, man. And I actually finished this. And the CDs came in, and I took all the photos of them when I went to empty out the apartment, like at the end of April, beginning of May, like right after COVID had started. But the whole idea generated originally while I was down in Atlanta, and just trying to put together like a collection of stuff that I dug, some stuff that I thought might be different than like what had been comped before, and so tried to stay away from a lot of the mainstream type stuff and just dig a little deeper in the stash of things that I had. And so then I did a series of them. I've done 3 so far now. One was a psych one, and then the last one on the far right hand side there was a boogie funk one, all 80s boogie funk stuff.
Napoleon, have you come up on any Brazilian stuff?
Shit, man. No, I primarily know what I know about Brazilian stuff through JD, man. That wasn't really my bag. You know what I mean? I kind of pride myself on just being a digger all around, man. Like I've been doing this so long, bro. I know enough to be dangerous about everything. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, you know, it's one of those things. I've been a music head since as far as I could remember. So like anything I come across, anything obscure, if it looks funky, or if it looks dope, I'm gonna pick it up. You know what I mean? I started DJing in high school, 10th grade. You know what I mean? But when I got up with JD, man, like, you know, he was kind of in that Brazilian lane. And so most of the stuff I learned about Brazilian stuff kind of sparked the interest from him.
Yeah.
And then Ologist, this is all female Brazilian artists, is that right?
Yeah, all female Brazilian artists. Like we did like a bunch of dudes I knew that were record collectors from around Instagram. Like during the pandemic, everybody was getting stir crazy. They were like, yo, let's do a cassette tape swap. And I've got a tape duplicator over here. So I was like, cool, I'm down, man. And so I was like, I'm going to do an all female Brazilian mix. And it was right around the time of International Women's Day in 2021. So I had my daughters like something to do during the pandemic, draw cover art for it. And so that's where it came about, man. It was from that swap.
Looks dope.
And then I did an updated version for the shop like a year and some change ago. It's like so it has all those tracks like plus some other tracks on it. So it's cool, man. Yeah.
And then is this the most recent one, the New Sound of Brazil?
Almost, man. I did a funky Christmas joint. Yeah, the New Sound of Brazil we did for the last Sound of Brazil event. This is the one I was telling you has all like the more modern Brazil funk boogie type stuff. And then I did a Christmas funk mix back. I don't know if that there you go.
Yeah, that's the one
back in like December. Yeah. So I've done a handful for the shop over the last year, man. But
this
just
one
fun
is
things
newer,
to do, man.
newer
Just like
artists, right?
bring back that nostalgia period. Yeah, new artists. I'd say the last 10 years.
Gotcha.
So what's the story with the Common Good label? You guys haven't talked about that, I'm assuming.
Right, we have not.
Nah, we haven't, man. Like that started just off of like back in probably like 2015, maybe 2016. We were doing, or I was, I guess, doing like sample flip challenges on Instagram, like back like 10 years ago. Like nobody was really doing it then. And so I was like, man, I'm gonna get together a bunch of producers that I met through Instagram and do a tape called When Crates Create. And so everybody sent me beats and I got a bunch of tapes pressed up for it. It's like, you know, it was just something cool to do, man. Like bring people together from all around the world, sold some copies. Like I sent copies, everybody was involved, blah, blah, blah. It was just a passion project. And then this guy, Jason McGinnis, who had done a beat on there, goes by Analog Burners and now Empyrean Tones. And he's done a bunch of jazz records since then. But he was like, yo, man, we ought to do some stuff together because I'm releasing records. You put this tape out, like, let's just partner together. And so that's when we came up with the Common Good Records. And the first thing we had put out was a drum break record for Tomer Sweeney, who is Aloe Black's drummer in the band Grand Scheme. And his brother had gotten in a really bad car accident. And so we put out a 45 for him first, and then we put out a drum break record of Tomer's after that. So like, that was really the thought process. Like, we're just going to give all the money back that we make off of it to Tutu is his brother's name, you know, just to help out. And it didn't raise a lot of money, but still, man, it was like, I don't remember what it was, $500-700, something like that. And it was like still a dope thing to do. And so that's where the Common Good piece kind of came from in the name.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't put out anything in a while, man. Yeah, it's been a while since we put anything out, but some stuff coming out. Like Jason's been working on a project in Italy right now that he just got finished mastering. So that might come out end of this year, beginning of next year.
Yeah, this is a funny aside. The Teamir and Professor H record.
Yeah.
I found a test press at the Azalea Flea. I know Napoleon knows what I'm talking about. I found a test press at the Azalea Flea last summer.
You might find Jimmy Hoffa at the Azalea Flea, bro. Anything might pop out there.
That's wild, man. Well, it came from me for a fact, Sam. Like wherever it made its way there, it definitely came from me. That was actually all recorded at Red Bull Studios. They had done a bunch of sessions at Red Bull.
Really?
Like Jametta Rose is on there and a bunch of other cats.
Where is Red Bull Studios?
I think it was the studio out in LA.
Oh yeah? Damn.
Yeah.
Napoleon, we could probably do a whole episode, you know, talking with you and about digs and stuff. But I wanted to highlight one in particular. Greer, you probably got the most Greer stuff that I've ever seen anybody have. Have you actually met Greer, or is there more to the Greer story?
So I actually know Greer, man. Believe it or
Okay.
not, like a cat that I worked with back in the day for years. He was part of the wildlife camp, and I didn't know it at the time.
Oh,
And then
damn.
like I say, like maybe 06, 07, we were hanging out, and he would bring Greer around. And this is before I guess y'all know the backstory about everything that went down with Greer, right?
I heard he's locked up for murder or something like that.
He's locked up for murder. Yeah. It's a wild ass story. But
and the funny part about Greer is Mordecai I think submitted the what was the green split fade label one?
That was the one that came out first, the little EP from '96.
Ill Visions. Was it the EP? I think Mordecai submitted it on Discogs. And then it's like a several $100 record now, I believe. But you got multiple versions
CD,
like CD, vinyl, tape.
Yeah, so the Ill Vision CD, if I'm being honest with you, bro, like a clean copy or a sealed copy is like $1,000.
Damn.
It's that crazy, like for real. You know what I mean? They just put the reissue just came out like 2 weeks ago, and I see
sold out right away. Sold out that day.
Yep. Sold out immediately. Yeah. So
I saw it, and by that time it was gone.
Yep. Yeah, man. I wanted to get one too. My homie Daryl got one, but
it was the Mentality EP. I just checked. Yeah.
Mentality, right? That
prices range from 170 up to 1,000, and there's none.
Yeah, I think the Ill Visions is the orange one because I had that one, but the Mentality is the rare one, I think.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, man, like as far as the full length CD, so the CD of Ill Visions is what goes crazy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. The vinyl is only like the single, like 3 or 4 tracks on it. So that's moderately like $150, $100, something like that. But the CD goes crazy, and the Mentality tape, which never pops up, goes crazy. Me and the homie Daryl, Daryl, we probably have everything that came out of that camp, except for y'all know the homie S. Dot from Norfolk.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He just sent me something, and I ain't gonna put it out there, but he just sent me something like 2 weeks ago that I had never seen before. So there's actually another Greer release that nobody knows about.
Like I was gonna say what it is. Is it after that period or before?
It's same time as Ill Visions. I'll hit you.
All right, that's what's up. I want to see that. I won't share it. Don't worry. Don't hit.
Like, is there unreleased stuff? Like, has there been interest from some of the reissue labels or anything like that? But sounds like there's more to the story.
Yeah, for sure. But they have been trying to put it out. So one of my homies, Neil, which you probably know, him and the dude Chris from Canada, they were supposed to put the reissue out like 5 years ago, and I guess the legal stuff didn't work out. But whoever what is it, 90s tapes? I guess they ended up getting
90s tapes, I believe.
They just put it out, man. So
yeah.
But there's so much VA stuff, and Sam really knows about that. And anytime I find like 90s rap stuff, I'm always hitting Sam up. Yo, you know about this? You know what I mean? There's so much ill shit, man. That needs to be put back out. And that's one thing eventually that I kind of wanted to get into. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Put some of that stuff out ourselves.
It's amazing. I mean, it's amazing. Like what Napoleon is talking about, especially being on a physical format. It's amazing how much stuff apparently exists that no one's ever seen before. Yeah. I can't believe that like all these years later, people are still unearthing things that haven't been seen. It's wild. It's wild to me.
Yep.
Like 35 years later, like
all the time, man.
Yep, still around.
Ologist, you had the Jade record out, kind of flexing that, and I kind of I kind of hate
Big
that.
flex.
So can you just put that back to the back of that stack if you don't mind?
Yeah. So and while I'm at it, man, it's perfect because Napoleon's here. I gotta find it again.
Troy Hurt used to play that 45, and I've been on a hunt and.
Well, I've got both.
Would love to get a copy of the 45 one day.
I've got both of them, man. They're dope 45s for sure. So yeah, I've got 2 copies. I used to have 3.
Hey,
one is with Napoleon now.
He's the only reason I got one, man. I find a lot of rare shit. Cannot find that Jade, man. He got 3 copies.
These tracks are not on the LP, I think, too, right? What's the story with that, Napoleon or Ologist?
So those 2 are not on there. I believe the best I've been able to track down, man, is they were recorded or released the year after I think the LP came out. But I don't know if they were recorded. They clearly sound different, right? Because they're more like a psych funk type of record than the other 2 are. Like Music Slave and the B side of that are definitely like funk records. You know what I'm saying? But yeah,
for those that don't know, like, where's the band based out of? Is it Hampton or
It's Norfolk.
they were out of Norfolk.
Norfolk?
They were out of Norfolk on Passante, and so let me set this stuff to the side. So I've got 2 copies. This one's sealed here, but if you look, this Passante Records logo, that's the Norfolk scope. So at the time, the Norfolk scope was built in 72, 73. Anyways, and so at the time, like around the time that the label was formed, it was the big shiny new thing, right? And it was such a statement piece, and I think that's why they use it as a logo. But
I thought it was Hampton Coliseum. That's why I was thrown.
Nah, man.
Yes.
It's
Every time I drive by the Hampton Coliseum, I'm like, Jade.
Nope.
But now it's
Norfolk scope, man.
Yeah.
Norfolk scope. But both of these copies came from Larry Kindred, the percussion player. But the dope thing, so a couple of pieces that nobody's ever seen before related to Jade. And this one, shout out to Napoleon. He hit me up like we did some sort of beat set back in like December at the shop for some cats that always come through and support, and they did a beat cipher there. And I went in and he was like, "Yo, you ever see this Norfolk State College yearbook?" This is like the first year they did a yearbook.
When I'm digging through
and I was
yearbooks.
like, when I'm like randomly collecting yearbooks, and I was like, "Nah, why?" And he was like, "Well, fam," he's like, "Yo, in the back, it's the craziest thing. There is a promo photo, like back in all the random things of Jade in the back of the Norfolk State yearbook, man." So I don't know that anybody's ever seen this or at least put it together relative to Jade, but it's crazy, man. That's the band right there. Just a promo photo for Mark IV Productions, man, in the back of the.
That's wild.
The back, and then
yearbook. They just paid for an ad.
a yearbook. Yeah, and then there's like there's like WRAP DJ photos in there, man. Like it's some dope stuff in the back of this yearbook.
Man, that's digging right. That's digging right there to even look at those yearbooks to find stuff like that.
That's all Napoleon right there, man. And,
that's a digging trick, man. That's actually a digging secret, man. That I figured out a long time ago. If you look in the back of old yearbooks in general, record stores always promoted in the back of them, so you can get the info from record labels, record label owners, record store owners. Always check old yearbooks, man.
But and I've never seen there's no real Jade ephemera out there, so that's one of the first things that I've ever seen. When Larry sent me the records, he goes by Chess as a nickname. He sent me he mailed them to me, and the funny thing is, man, he mailed them in a bubble mailer, like literally a soft plastic bubble mailer, and he taped plastic coat hangers around the records. That's how he mailed them to me, man. And I opened them up and I was like, holy shit, man. I did not believe he sent these to me like that. But there was
he should have sent armed guards with them to deliver them personally, man.
Seriously, man.
Where did he send them from? Is he still in Virginia or?
He's still around, man. He's been really hard to get together with. I played phone tag with him and talked to him on the phone once. He doesn't remember any of the other Jade sessions or anything, at least as he told me. He said they never recorded anything else. And Sam, that yellow 45, he didn't even mention anything about it because I asked him, did they record any 45s? Yeah. He was like, no. And I was like, man, clearly there's something, or that was from a different session and he didn't know that it was out there. But here's another, this doesn't exist anywhere else either. Here's another Jade press photo. And I think this was taken out in Portsmouth. There's an old train that's parked out there, I think is where this is. But this photo doesn't exist. It's an original press photo. But the dopest thing is,
hey, Mordecai, we're gonna have to scrub this video, man. You can't post this now. These photos don't exist.
I mean, as long as I get a promo copy when they the Thanks for Listening reissue.
Thanks for listening.
Get the bonus 45. I'm
telling you, I told Burt Blackerack. He said his dad owned Mark IV, and I don't know exactly what happened, but y'all remember 5-6 years ago it was supposed to be reissued. It was pressed. I think it was a label called Tidal Wave. I was going to
ask you about that. There was a controversy with that, right?
Yeah, I think there was some sort of legal dispute with it, but they had done, essentially it was all pressed. I want to say Fat Beats had an exclusive colorway, HHV had an exclusive colorway, and then there was a general colorway that Light in the Attic was distributed, I think a black one. And literally as they're in warehouses, there was a cease and desist and destroy note sent down. So I think somebody found out that figured out they had the rights to it and then stopped the whole thing. But it's been a very murky story. But
But
I
some
would love
copies
to
got out
figure
though.
out-
Some copies of the
There are
reissue
some
did
copies
get out.
I
Yeah.
know of one locally that I've been trying to get for years, just because I'm a completionist and I still haven't been
Right.
able to get it yet. But it's around.
If you
And
if you
then
go
this
on
right
Discogs,
here,
you can see people talk about it a little bit. That's about all I saw.
yeah, this is like a 2-page promo thing on the Mark IV header, talking about all the different shows and locations that they played at, from here to South Carolina, man, DC, New York, Boston. Like, I had no idea they toured. I thought they were legit just a studio band. And then there's handwritten most recent appearances down here, and you can best believe I've
Wow.
called all of these places to see if they have anything. These places don't exist anymore. And then outside
Where
of
did you
that,
find something? Where did you come across something
dude,
like that?
I'm just always digging for stuff, man. There's one other press photo that exists. I do not own an original, but somebody I know was gracious enough to send me a very nice repress of it. I've been trying to buy the original for years. That's the only 3 press photos I know of. And then there was a little promo book, and it's got like the promo for the 45 Lately I in there, like a small little booklet. It's pretty dope. So
And what would you use something like that for? Would that be something you would hand out at like a record store, or what is that?
I would suspect that's probably what they would do, or radio stations, things like that, man, would be my guess. Like venues they went to, just to promote the music and things like that.
Yeah.
Probably at the merch table or something, maybe.
Yep, exactly. So, yeah, man. So there's the secret jade pieces, man, that I've never showed anybody,
wild.
man.
That's dope,
That's
man.
cool.
Thanks for sharing those.
Something different, man.
We're actually running over a little bit. Sam, did you have any more questions for Napoleon or Ologist you wanted to get to before we?
Oh man, we could probably do a whole show in Napoleon too.
I know.
I'd like to hear some of his stories. No, I just
sometime, man. Let me know. We can hook it up for sure.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. I'd like to do something like that too. Man, I think I think we talked about most of the things I had questions about. I could come up with a million more questions, but no, I think it's I just think it's impressive what you guys are doing. When we're talking about Ologist, I think it's impressive what you're doing to propagate the music, whether it's the Brazilian stuff or like you guys through the record store, through the Common Good label. Like I think it's I definitely consider yourself a contributor and a part of the game now, not just a listener. So man, I definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I would say, like, we could do a whole episode just on Virginia music too, Napoleon and I, because that's a space that I think we really try and champion a lot, is preserving the, Virginia music culture. And we didn't get a chance to get to them, but I got a stack of 45s that are like Virginia Beach specific 45s and LPs that, we could go through and touch on, but not a lot of Virginia Beach specific stuff that you can track down very easily. Some of these from Napoleon, some of these from Random Digs, so forth and so on. But yeah, man, the Virginia music space, another big passion area. So yeah, man.
Through all eras, from whether we're talking about soul, through funk, through rock, through hip hop, through the current day. I mean, Virginia's got a fantastic history, even just the Virginia Beach area. I feel like
absolutely,
exactly.
So you guys definitely both are keeping that alive, letting people know about it, which is great.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Appreciate it, bro.
Awesome, man.
I'm off next week. We got Fro Organics, hopefully with some more Virginia music history on the 27th. We got coming up also Joe Run Bombay in August.
Oh, dope. Yeah, it's dope.
El Bravador will definitely have some more history to talk about August 10th. God's Morning Foundation, Clef Dollars,
Clef,
siblings.
Rest in peace, Clef.
And we got DJ Barnacles coming up in September. So
round 2.
Hopefully we can get Napoleon on the schedule, and would love to do
him on there.
Centric one with Ologist as well. So
that was one of my dopest beat highlights, man. Was having Clef losing his mind in Alley Cats at a beat battle. A beat
been to Alley Cats?
Dave and I did. Yeah, man. Not Alley Cats. Sorry, Nancy Ray Gun.
Oh yeah,
post Twisters era, man. Yeah.
Somebody wanted us to make sure we mentioned the Nancy Ray Gun.
Yep, there it is, Nancy Ray Gun, man. A lot of beat battles we did, and like beat ciphers and all kinds of stuff, man. That was a
Mhm.
fun spot.
Yeah.
Fun spot.
Man, hell yeah.
So,
Well, thank you,
Yeah.
Napoleon,
All right,
for coming
man.
through. Thank you, Ologist, for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, peace to everybody for tuning in.
You got a hit
Looking
hot
at
dinner
this room.
date night to get out to, so I appreciate it.
yeah, no, I appreciate it. I actually, you know, what's funny?
Respect, gentlemen.
It was at 6:30, man, so I did have to move it.
Uh-oh. Okay.
But it's
Peace,
all
fellas.
good.
Let's wrap it up. I appreciate it, y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sam, for
Peace,
joining
y'all.
us.
Peace.
Thanks for having us, man. Napoleon, peace, bro.
All right, bro. Talk to you.
All right. Take care, y'all.
Peace.